This Sunday morning the Lord's blessed us with. It's good to see each one. Glad you're here. Glad you're in the house of the Lord today. And still, let's do remember all these that's out. And pretty much, Lord, be them, touch them. But I'm thankful He's allowed us to come back this way once again. But if you have your Bibles this morning, one turn with us, the book of Mark, chapter number 6. And also chapter number 4. Mark chapter number 6 and chapter number 4. And Lord willing, won't be before you too long this morning, but surely desire your prayers that the Lord would be our helper today. And if there's anything said or done to help you, it will take the Lord this morning. We're not able to do anything within ourselves, but we do need the help of the Lord today. But the book of Mark, chapter number 6. Mark, chapter number 6, where we're going to read first just a few verses. We'll ask you, if you will, stand just a moment in honor of the reading of the reference of the word of the Lord. Mark, chapter number 6. And we'll start reading in verse number 45. Mark, chapter 6 and verse number 45. And the Bible said, and straightway he constrained the disciples to get into the ship and go to the other side before into Bethesda, while he sent away the people. And when he had sent them away, he departed into a mountain to pray. And when even was come, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he alone on the land. And he saw them toiling and rowing, for the wind was contrary unto them. And about the fourth watch of the night he cometh unto them walking upon the sea, and would have passed by them. And when they saw him walking upon the sea, they supposed it had been a spirit, and cried out, for they all saw him and were troubled. And immediately he talked to them and said unto them, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And he went unto them into the ship, and the wind ceased, and they were sore amazed in themselves beyond measure and wonder, for they considered not the miracle of the loaves, for their heart was hardened. And when they had passed over, they came into the land of Gennesaret, and drew into the shore. And when they were come out of the ship, straightway they knew him. Mark chapter number 4. Mark chapter number 4. We'll start reading in verse number 37. Mark 4 and verse number 37. And there arose a great storm of wind, and the waves beat unto the ship, so that it was now full. And when he was in the hinder part of the ship, asleep on a pillow, and they awake him and say unto him, Master, carest thou not that we perish? And he arose and rebuked the wind, and said unto the sea, Peace, be still. And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said unto them, Why are you so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith? And they feared exceedingly, and said one to another, What manner of man is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him? You can be seated. Thank you for standing in honor of the reading of the reference of the word of the Lord. But thinking earlier on in the week about chapter number 6 here in the book of Mark that we've read to you, a very familiar scripture, but just I want to look at just a few things just a moment. Now we find that the disciples here in the word of the Lord had just performed a great miracle in chapter number 6, how he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and he had fed over 5,000, including the women and the children, not counting those. So the Lord had done a great miracle right here before the disciples. And you know what? A lot of times we're just like the disciples were, Brother Gerald. We forget about how great of a God, Brother Tony, that we serve, and how the Bible said that he can do anything. And I do believe that this morning. I still believe that he's a God that's able, Jerry, to do anything and everything that he desires to do. I believe that he will. So we find the disciples here, the Bible said that after they had took up the baskets of leftovers, that the Lord told them, he said, I want you to get into the ship. We're going to go over to the other side, and we're going to go to Bethesda. And surely I'm glad to report to you that I'm still in the ship, and I'm still on board, and I'm glad that it's not going to be long, I don't believe, until God's people get over to the other side. And I'm thankful that we've got that promise, and we've got that hope of a better day and a better land. And I thought this week, as we've heard about all the news and all the world's in a panic over what's happening and what's taking place, I'm glad there's not any of it caught God by surprise. I believe that he knew when he spoke this thing into existence what was going to happen in this day and what's going to happen on tomorrow. I think that he knew all about it. So God is not worried about what's going to take place in America. I'm glad that he's got it all under control. And surely we find here in the word of the Lord that the disciples are going in the direction of what God had told them. Here they are, they're getting on the ship, Brother Paul, and they're going to the other side. And I'm glad that He's made us that promise, that He's never going to leave us, that He's never going to forsake us. I'm glad that I'm on board to that old ship, and I thought about that song as that we've heard sung down through the years, the old ship of Zion, as we read this scripture. And you know what? I'm glad the old song said that its hull was bent and battered. And you know what? Surely there was scars all over the outside of that ship. But I'm glad the Bible said that it kept on sailing. Or the old song said that it kept on sailing. And you know what? I'm glad that He's made us that promise that He's going to go with us. So He said, we're going to go on the other side. In verse number 45, to Bethesda. And while He went away, while He sent away the people, He had sent them away, He departed in a mountain to pray. And He said, I want you to get on the ship. And He said, we're going to go to the other side, and we're going to go to Bethesda. And no doubt I thought about it as we read to you out of Mark chapter number 4 also. When He told the disciples to get in the ship, He said, we're going to go to the other side. And no doubt it was probably easy, and the weather was convincing. And I've thought about it many times before. I believe the sea was still, and the sea was calm. I believe the winds was calm, and I believe the weather was just right. So they were looking, I believe, at the weather, and they were looking at all of around about them, Brother Gerald. And they said, yeah, it's possible and it's doable because everything is good, and because the sailing is going to be good. Surely we can get to the other side with no problem. And I do believe that we're going to get to the other side with no problem. But while the Lord tarries is coming, there's going to be many storms and battles and struggles that come my way and your way this morning. But I'm glad that I've got a God, as we read about this morning, that is still able. And the Bible said the ship was in the midst of the sea in verse number 47, and He was alone on the land. And He looked out and He saw them rolling and towing. And the Bible said because the wind was contrary unto them, and you know what? They were doing everything within their power to get the boat to come, and they were doing everything within their power, had no doubt, how to get to the other side. But can I remind you that the Lord reminded them about their faith in chapter number 4. He said, why is it that you have no faith? You know what? Surely that's just the way that I am and you are. As long as you're the one that's in the battle, or I'm in the battle, we've got faith that God is going to see you through. And if I'm struggling and I'm battling, it's easy to encourage me and say, I know that the Lord is going to see you through. So here the disciples, they forgot about the God that they served. They forgot about the miracles that He's performed before them up until now. They forgot all about that. And a lot of times you and I are in that same way, in that same shape. We forget about the God that's brought us this far, and we forget about the God that's made us that promise that He's going to go with us and never leave us or forsake us. But we thought about that word tolling. We looked it up at Old Webster 1828, and that word tolling means laboring with pain. And the Lord looked out and He seen them rolling and tolling. He seen them laboring with pain. And you know what? I believe that His heart melted for them, and He had compassion upon them and toward them. So I think that the Bible don't say, but I kind of thought about this for the last several days. I believe the Lord said within Himself, it looks like they sure could use some help. And you know what? I'm glad for the times in my life, Brother Paul, where the Lord looked at what I was going through and what I was facing. And I'm glad there's been some times, Gerald, that the Lord said, it sure looks like He could use some help. So you know what He done, Brother Tony? The Bible said that He left the land. And you now imagine the storm that they were in. The Bible said, Jerry, they were rolling and towing. How the wind was contrary to them. And surely they were doing their best to try to guide the boat and steer the boat in the right direction. But I'm glad the storm's never been raging enough and the waves has never been high enough. The Bible said that He came to them walking upon the water. And you know what? In the middle of their storm. And I'm glad that this morning that there's not a storm that we serve a God. This morning that the waves in our life may be raging and rolling this morning. And we serve a God this morning that we think that the waves are going to overtake us. But He came walking in the middle of the storm to the disciples. And I thought about verse number 48, and the Bible said that he was walking upon the sea and would have passed them by. And you know what, I believe every time that we have a storm and a battle, Brother Paul, that the Lord is walking on our sea, and he's walking this morning in the midst of our life. And the Bible said, Tony, that he would have passed them by. But you know what they done? The Bible said when they saw him, they supposed he'd been a spirit, and they cried out. And you know what? I wonder how many times in your life and my life that the Lord has passed us by, just waiting for us to cry out. I'm just waiting for us, Brother Gerald, to say, Lord, how you think about old Simon Peter as he was walking upon the water, if he had never cried out. Hey, you know what? The Bible said that he began to walk into the Lord. But when he saw the wind boisterous and contrary to him, the Bible said that he began to sink. And he cried out and he said, Lord, would you save me? And you know what? I'm reminded that the Lord Jesus said in Matthew 11 and 28, come unto me all yet labor and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I'm glad that he's a God of perfect peace. He's a God of rest. He's a God this morning of mercy, and I've found whatever I needed down through the years. That's just what he's been to me. So we find that the Bible said that he would have passed them by except they would have cried out. And I'm afraid a lot of times we all fight the same battle, and we've all got that sense of pride about us on how strong that we are, and how much we can handle, and how much of the load that we can carry. But I read to you, I believe last week or the week before, how the Bible said that pride goeth before destruction, and don't never be in the place where we think that we can handle it and we've got it all under control, because that's what God wants me and you to do, is to bring all our cares and our burdens and our troubles and our heartaches before him and cast them at his feet. And I'm glad that surely that he can give us peace, and everything will be well and we'll be all right. So they came before him. The Bible said that he would have passed him by, but when they saw him, they supposed it had been a spirit, and they cried out. And you know what? He came unto them, and the Bible said that he talked to them and saith unto them, be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And I'm glad that he's still God in the middle of my storm and in the middle of your storm. We read to you out of chapter number 4, the Lord told him, he said, let us go unto the other side. And the Bible said there arose a great storm in the wind, and you know what, the waves beat into the ship, and the Bible said the ship was now full. And you know what, I'm afraid a lot of times our ship gets full of doubt, and gets full of wonder, and gets full of pride, and gets full of the things that are separating us from the Lord, how that we feel helpless and hopeless today. But I sure am glad this morning that I've got a God that my storm and my battle's not anything that's out of his control, and not anything this morning that he cannot handle. And I'm thankful this morning for the times, Brother Gerald, that he's passed by and I've cried out. But there's been times in my life, Brother Tony, where he's passed by and I've had that pride about me, and I've had that bitterness in my heart because of circumstance and because the way that things has worked out. And you know what, a lot of times we're not careful, we get in the shape where we think that God owes us something, maybe for what we've suffered or what we went through. But I'm glad this morning that God didn't owe me anything and you anything. And every time I begin to think about payment, I think about the old timer at the nursing home a few years back, and he said, I don't want that I deserve, or that God owes me, because the Bible said the wages of sin is death. And you know what, if we got what we deserved and got what we was owed, Brother Gerald, we'd be in hell already today. But I'm glad he delights in mercy, and he delights in grace, and he's a long-suffering God. So God, don't give me what you owe me, but I'll take mercy, and I'll take grace, and I'll take your pity this morning, because if I got what I deserve, surely, Tony, I'd be in hell this morning screaming for mercy and grace. And you know what, hell is full of a place that folks are screaming for mercy and grace, Brother Jerry, but it's too late. God has turned the deaf death ear toward that place. But the time to obtain mercy and grace is in this present time, and is right now this morning. The Bible said, seek him while he may be found, call upon him this morning while he's near, because there's coming a day he won't be found. There's coming a day that he'll withdraw himself. There's coming a day that surely, I thought about it, somebody requested prayer the other week for the young man that's desiring God to come by his way once again, and I pray that God does, and I pray that he will. But there's not one of us guaranteed tomorrow, not one of us guaranteed to see the sun go down today. I seek him this morning while he may be found of you. And you know what? In the middle of their storm, the Bible said that he was in the hinder part in chapter number 4. They kept good company. They loved the Lord so much. They're just like you and me. And you know what? They said, Lord, we love you. You're a friend. But they must have been pretty sorry company, because here's the Lord is asleep in the hinder part of a ship. The Bible said he's asleep upon a pillow, and the winds and the storm begin to rage, and that's when they begin to look him for the Lord. That's the way I am and you are a lot of times when the winds and the storms and the battles in our life begin to rage. Then we get to looking for the Lord. We get to looking for comfort. We get to looking for peace. The Bible said the boat was now full, so now they're looking for somebody this morning to help them. And you know what? Surely that word full, that means it could not handle anymore. And you know what? I'm afraid a lot of times you and I get full of worry and full this morning and stress out and wondering this morning how that we're going to do and how that we're going to get by. But I'm glad this morning God's got it all planned down and figured out, and he's not worried about it, but he's bidding me and bidding you this morning to bring it to him. And you know what? This morning I thought about that. The Bible said there was a woman with an issue of blood that she had for 12 years. And you know what, Brother Gerald? Surely she had that issue of blood for 12 years. And the Bible said she had seen many physicians and many doctors. And Alex, the Bible said she had spent all that she had. She had spent everything that she had. And you know what? You think about it on one sense, she wasted everything that she had. But she finally came to the place where she said within herself that she had heard about the Lord and how that he was passing by. And she said within herself, if I can just touch the hem of this man's garment, I shall be made whole. And you know what, this morning, if we could just get to the place where we can reach out this morning in our life, if we could get to the place that we're broken enough, that we've tried enough of our own ways and our own directions, and they always lead with the same old results. But if we could get to the place in our life this morning that we realize the only help that we'll ever get that'll last more than a few days, and the only solution that we'll ever get that'll last more than just a short time is the Lord Jesus Christ today. And she said, if I can just touch him, I shall be made whole. So you know what, this morning, Cherry, as you say, preacher, I need some help from the Lord. That woman with the issue of blood, she got where the Lord was at. And you know what, surely we want help this morning. We want God to pass by. You'll have to get where he is. And you know what, this morning we're in the greatest place, Tony, we could be in this morning, is to get help from the Lord, because he made us a promise where 2 or 3 be gathered together in his name, there he'll be in the midst. So I'm glad, Gerald, we're in a place where he's passing by. He's passing by this morning, old blind Bartimaeus. He couldn't see the Lord, but he heard that he was coming that way. Brother Aaron, he couldn't see him. And you know what? A lot of times we need to just walk by faith and not by sight. Old blind Bartimaeus, he couldn't see him, but he knew he was coming. So he sat by the wayside begging. And I believe the Bible said that he said, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy upon me. And you know what he began to do, Brother Alex? He repeated that over and over and over. And I believe the louder and the further that the closer the Lord might have got to him, the louder he cried. And he still cried, Brother Gerald, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy upon me. And we even find in that story where the disciples came to old Bartimaeus, and he said that they said, you're going to have to quieten down a little bit. You're making too much of a noise and causing too much of a racket. And you know what, old Bartimaeus' answer was? Jesus, thou son of David, would you have mercy this morning upon me? He did not care what the church thought. And a lot of times that's what keeps you and I in our place and keeps us in our seed. We're worried about what everybody else is going to think, say, or do. But you know what? Old Bartimaeus knew that if there's ever any hope of him ever able to see Brother Paul, that he's going to have to get a hold of the Lord. And if there's ever any hope this morning of your troubles and your peace coming to your heart, and you realizing this morning that the Lord is the master of the sea, you have to do like old Bartimaeus did, in spite of what you may think or believe, in spite of who's around and who's not. You have to cry out and say, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy this morning upon me. And you know what? The disciples here, they were rolling and towing, doing everything that they needed to do. And it wasn't because they didn't know how to guide the boat, and it wasn't because they never had been on the water. We read about these disciples, they were all professional fishermen. And you know what? Surely this wasn't the first storm that they'd been in, but there's something different about it. I believe God allowed it to come their way. And you know what? Surely it wasn't the first time that they've been rolling and towing, but it seemed like they was caught in a place that they weren't going any direction, that they were just rolling and towing. And you know what? This morning it seemed like the ship was filling up, and all hope they couldn't throw water fast enough. But the Lord came by to where they was at, and that's His way of saying, Aaron, I'm here. I'm with just arm's reach. If you need some help, I'll help you. But if you want to drown in your own sorrows and your self-pity, because you know what, this morning we think about the old prodigal son. The Bible said that he was down in the hog pen, Jerry, and he spent all that he had. You know what the Bible said? That he would have fain filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And you know what? He got and lost all that he had. No doubt the Lord had came to where he was at several times before, but he got in the place where he didn't have nothing else. And if we're not the carefulest in the world, the Lord will let us go as long and as far as to the place where we don't have anything else but Him. The old prodigal son didn't have anything else but the father to call out to, had to run home to, and by all means, if he would have gone to the father's land and they'd have been a locked gate with his picture and said, you're not welcome here no more, that would have been right and just and doing it. But I'm glad as the youngins mentioned love this morning, I'm glad the Bible said love will cover a multitude of sin. But you know what the old father was doing to the prodigal son? The Bible said when he was a great way off. Boy, I'm glad this morning that mercy and grace don't know any bounds this morning. And the Bible said when the old father looked and seen the son coming a great way off, that he ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And you know what, this morning he said, I'm glad that you've come back home. Amen. He said, you know what? I think about the story there. He lost all that he had. He lost all of his inheritance, and he wasted it, the Bible said, Brother Aaron, with the riotous living. And he had all kinds of friends. He had all kinds of buddies. But when all of his money was gone, he realized he didn't have anything or anyone. Ain't you glad God's still around? You got $100, or if you got nothing, God's still gone. God's still God this morning. And the Bible said that the ship was full. The ship, it wouldn't hold anymore. You know what? A lot of times our spiritual ship and our life this morning and just everyday life and things that we go through, how that we get full and don't know how that we can take it anymore. But I'm glad, as we told you, that He bids us in Matthew 11 to come unto Him. Come unto Him. He didn't say our problems would be gone. Didn't say that surely that they'd be changed. And there's times that He has, but more often than not, Brother Gerald, when I've come and I've brought them unto Him, the problems are still there, but there was just some peace and some security in our mind and in our soul, Brother Jerry. I think God said everything was going to be all right. I believe he says, come unto me, all you labor heavy laden, I will give you rest. I'm going to give you some extra grace, and I'm going to give you some extra mercy. I'm going to give you some reassurance. When your strength has done all that it can do, he said, I'm going to gird you with my strength and put my strength upon you. And you know what, this morning he said, then you'll have that faith and a surety that everything will be all right. Amen. Bible said that the old ship was full. I had no doubt they was in a panic. And you know what? Sure, the world is in a panic this morning about if we're going to live or die. If we're going to catch some kind of virus or not. But I'm glad God's not in a panic. He's not wringing his hands. He's not wondering what he's going to do. Because he's God this morning. He's got it all under control. Amen. He's not worried this morning because he knows that his grace this morning, as he told old Paul, is sufficient. He knows this morning that he's got it all this morning under control. The disciples in the word of the Lord, he said, what manner of man is this in chapter 4? Even the winds and the sea do obey him. They said, boy, he's bigger of a God than I thought he was. And you know what? We can hear the stories of others and the testimonies of others, and we can say, yeah, God sounds pretty good. But there ain't no greater feeling, Brother Gerald, than knowing, Jerry, that he was the God of your brother's trials and your neighbor's trials. But there ain't no greater feeling than knowing that he's the God in your trials and your tribulation and your storms. That surely the God that you've heard testified about and talked about and told about, how you'll never really experience what they're talking about until you let him be the God in your storm. Amen. Till you let him be the God in your troubles and your heartaches and your trials and those things that you're facing this morning. The Bible said he would have passed them by, but they cried out. He's always has been a gentleman. He's not going to force himself on anybody. He's not going to force himself for you to trust in him. A lot of times, you know what, even I say, folk, a lot of times we spend so long, it's not, Brother Tony, we go so long worrying and wondering when we just brought it to the Lord and cast it upon him. He would have gave us that peace and assurance, not to worry, not to fret, that everything is well, that he's got it all under control. That's the reason one writer said, gird up the loins of your mind. Don't let your mind run loose. Don't let your mind go wild this morning. Because this morning, you know what? This morning, if the devil can get in our mind, he can use our mind this morning to destroy our homes, destroy our families, to cause division in our homes and families, cause division this morning in our places of worship. And that's what he's done down through the years, and that's what he'll continue to do up until the Lord comes. Amen. And takes us out of this place. But while he tarries his coming, you say, boy, it's a dark time, it's a wicked time, things are getting bad. Yes, they are. But God's greater now than he ever has been. And our light ought to shine more in this lost and dying world in this day than it ever has. And the Bible said he would have passed them by, but they cried out. But they cried out. You know what? He's passing by this morning. I thought about old blind Bartimaeus, about the same story. He would have passed on by old blind Bartimaeus if he hadn't never called for him. If he hadn't never called for him, he'd have passed on by. Bartimaeus would never know what it's like to get to see. He'd have never know what it's like to get up and get to run and get to see where he's going and get to see all the great things God's made. And spiritually, we're so covered up and we're so full of our troubles and full of heartache that we hardly ever get to see a clear spiritual picture and have a good vision this morning of what the Lord's got in store for me and you. But old blind Bartimaeus said, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy this morning upon me. You know what? I'm glad that he's got this. Amen. He's got this morning. He's not worried. He's not concerned. But I'm glad this morning he's got this. Verse number 48 of chapter 6. And when he saw them toiling in and rowing, for the wind was contrary unto them, and about the fourth watch of the night, the darkest hour of the night, he cometh unto them walking upon the sea, and would have passed them by. He said, I seen them laboring and with pain. That word toiling means laboring in pain. He said, I seen them working, Jerry, all they could work and laboring with pain, concerned and worried for their own life that they was going to die. He said, so I went walking up on the sea toward them and would have passed them by, but they cried out. They cried out. Pride goeth before destruction this morning. We can't handle the problems in this life of our own. Gerald, I'm not strong enough. You're not strong enough. Mentally, I'm not capable enough. Neither are you capable enough this morning. And you know what? The doctor can give us everything that they want to give us. You ever think about, and I know that this depression and all that, and I know that it's real, but even what God way back years ago, when we read about Paul being down in the prison, we read about Job, and I'm not making light of that stuff in any way, but you know what? This morning, God this morning will see you through every step of the way. Amen. Depression and all these stuff, it's real, and I've been there. A lot of you's been there this morning, but if we're not the carefulest in the world, the devil and the flesh this morning will rob our mind of the victory and the joy, knowing that God's still gone. Amen. And it'll be fret and worrying how we're going to do this and how this is going to come together and that's going to come together. But you know what, this morning, while He's passing by, if you'll cry out, He can give you that peace and set things at ease in your mind and your heart and your life this morning, that He's still gone. Have you ever been through troubles and trials and it just helped you just for temporarily just to talk to somebody? We've all been there, but you know what? Surely that usually don't last long for me. But if we can talk to Him and bring it to Him this morning, He can give us that peace and that reassurance this morning that everything will be all right. He's passing by this morning, but you and I will have to cry out like the disciples did, like old Bartimaeus did, like the woman with the issue of blood. She said, if I could just touch but the hem of His garment, I shall be whole. You know what? Surely she said, I'm going to have to get to where He's at. You know what? Every time that I've needed something on the physical side, the doctor never has come to me. I've always had to make an appointment and go to Him. And I use this a lot for an illustration. The times that I've went and I've got the most help is when I went and got the medicine He prescribed and done everything this morning, Brother Gerald, they told me to, and that's when I've got the most help. They have been times that I've went and I've said, they don't have no idea what they're talking about. And we've all done that. And a lot of times if we're not careful, we'll do the same thing with the Lord, and we'll do the same thing with the message and the gospel. We'll say, don't have no idea what they're talking about. And we'll leave this morning in worse shape than what we came in. Boy, if we just come unto Him, if we just get to where He is, let Him speak to our heart. He said, come unto me, all you labor and heavy laden, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me. He said, for I'm meek and lonely in heart this morning. He said, I'm going to give you rest, comfort, and company this morning, all at the same time. If we'll just come and bring our burdens and our cares and our troubles before Him and cast them down this morning to Him and let Him reassure us that everything is going to be well. I'm going to ask everyone to stand this morning. I'll give you that.